This isn't what you think it is. Last week, Apple introduced iPadOS 26, and I'm very excited, really excited, because for years, I've wanted them to turn the iPad into one of these, which sounds ridiculous. It doesn't sound ridiculous anymore, does it? Because Apple is turning iPadOS 26 into macOS. That is exactly what they're doing. It's got the same window controls, it's got the same, well, apparently better multitasking than before, and it's got an improved supercharged Files app. Now, I haven't tried it yet, hands up. However, I will be when the public beta arrives next month, so make sure you hit subscribe not to miss those videos, of which there'll be a few, because basically I think this means I can start using the iPad properly. I've wanted to for years and years and years, and I do genuinely think iPadOS 26, even if it's not perfect, will help me do that. However, to do that, you need a keyboard case. You don't necessarily need a mouse or a trackpad, I'll get onto that later, but you do need a very good keyboard case, and you have a couple of options. You either go for this, which is the Magic Keyboard from Apple. It's very good, very, very good. It has a trackpad, but it's very heavy and it's very expensive. Or you go for the Logitech Combo Touch, which is this one here. It's cheaper than the Magic Keyboard and it has a trackpad, and you can take the iPad off and get rid of the keyboard if you want to. Nice. However, there's another option now, which is this. This is the Flip Folio, again from Logitech, and let me show you what it does in a second. Okay, the Flip Folio is available for both the iPad Air and the iPad Pro, both sizes 11 and 13 inch, and it's going to cost £159.99 or £179.99 in the UK, and it goes on sale on the 25th of June. Now, I know what you're thinking, and I know what you're possibly already typing into the comments. That's a very expensive case for your iPad, and it would be if it didn't do this. That's right, it's got a Bluetooth stowable magnetic keyboard built into it, which disappears when you don't need it. So if I'm just using this as an iPad, I can very quickly do that, watch stuff, put it by the side of my chopping board while I'm making dinner. But if I want to get some work done, I just whip that off, put that there, and get some work done. Brilliant. When I don't need it, I just put it straight back on there. You get the point. Done. Now the keyboard has full-sized keys, it's got a function key row for iPadOS, and it has these 3 buttons here which enable you to switch between 3 paired devices. So for instance, you can have your iPad on the stand in vertical portrait mode and have your iPhone next to it, and then switch between those 2 devices with this keyboard. The keyboard isn't backlit, which is a bit of a shame, but it has a 2-year battery life, so you don't need to charge it. And in fact, you don't even need to turn it off. It does have a switch here, but I've not been using that because as soon as you put it on there, it goes to sleep, which is fantastic. And yes, you can replace those batteries. There's a little slot up here which you pull out and put new batteries in, and then you get another 2 years of use, which is very convenient. It comes in 3 colors, lilac, pale gray, and graphite. And what else can I say about it? That's it, basically. In terms of specs, it's quite straightforward. Obviously, the case itself protects the back of your iPad and the front. It's very good in that respect. And well, let's get into the good points and the bad points, because it's not all roses, as you can guess with any product, and who I think this is for. Just a very quick word from today's sponsor, which is Paperlike. I put a Paperlike onto every iPad I buy, which is a lot of iPads. I do that for 2 reasons. The first reason is because it's a fantastic screen protector, which doesn't dull the colors and is very easy to apply. If I can do it, trust me, you can do it. The second reason is, well, as the name suggests, it makes your iPad display feel like paper. And if you do any kind of writing, drawing, sketching, illustrating, or, to be honest, if you just use your Apple Pencil with your iPad, you need a Paperlike. Using an Apple Pencil on the glass of the iPad display isn't very satisfying at all, but trust me, the feeling of Apple Pencil on Paperlike is like nothing else. It's utterly mesmerizing. When you first try it after applying it, which again is very straightforward, trust me, you will be amazed. To find out more, just click that link in the description. By the way, the Apple Pencil works perfectly with the Flip Folio, which is good news. However, there are 1 or 2 issues with this which are definitely worth mentioning. The first one is that if I'm slotting this into my backpack and the backpack happens to be quite full, occasionally the keyboard dislodges like that and kind of moves up. Not a big deal, but it happens occasionally. Secondly, it does add some weight to your iPad. Obviously, it's going to add weight, isn't it? But it adds a fair bit, which some people may not like. However, the Magic Keyboard adds weight, you know, the Combo Touch adds weight. If you want a keyboard either stowed or attached to your iPad case, it's going to weigh a little bit. You know, if you don't want that, then get a slimline case, but then you won't have that. So it's a compromise, I think. The other thing is that it's not cheap. You could argue that, I guess, but then again, you're getting quite a bit for your money, and it's very, very well made. The big thing for me is the fact that there's no iPad mini version. If you've been watching this channel for any amount of time, you'll know that I'm absolutely obsessed with the idea of Apple making a iPad mini Magic Keyboard, which I don't think they're ever going to do. And then I saw this and just thought, this is perfect for the iPad mini because it gets rid of that issue of having a tiny trackpad because there's not one, and it's very, very convenient having this built into the case. It would just be brilliant for the iPad mini. I did mention this at the press briefing we had with Logitech, and they went off to have a chat about it. I'm not suggesting that I'm going to completely reinvent Logitech's development roadmap, but hopefully they're thinking about it, and if it comes out, obviously that's all down to me. But who is this for? According to Logitech, 80% of people use their tablets for leisure, and 2 in 3 people say that devices should blend work and life. And the impression that I got from Logitech during the press briefing is that they recognise that most people use their iPads for iPad stuff, just leisure activities, but equally there's quite a few people who want to get proper work done, which is why this is included. So in terms of who this is for, I think it's quite straightforward. I think you know if you want the Magic Keyboard. You're an Apple person, you've got the budget for it, and you love the idea of this pretty much fully replacing your Mac, your MacBook, whatever. If that's too expensive, and even if the Combo Touch, which is cheaper than the Magic Keyboard, by the way, we'll put links to all this stuff in the description so you can buy them very quickly if you need to. If even this is a bit like overkill for you, the fact remains that you're still going to put a case on your iPad. So why not make it a case that does that? Now, yes, if your budget doesn't stretch to that, then you'll just have to get a standard case for your iPad. But if you do have a relatively good budget and you want to get some work done on your iPad occasionally, then this is a bit of a no-brainer. I just wish it was available for the iPad mini, but if you've got an iPad Pro or an iPad Air, it's quite an easy recommendation. But now, guys, as always, it's over to you. Get involved in the comments. Let me know what you think about the Flip Folio, and hit subscribe not to miss those iPad OS 26 videos, of which I think there'll be quite a lot.